Hey everyone, it's Zack Beck. Credit scores are important for all of us. Whether we're looking to buy a car, rent an apartment, or take out a mortgage to purchase a home, having a good credit score is essential for you to be able to move forward and achieve your long-term financial goals. And a recent development from the Biden administration could change that dramatically. They are proposing actually creating a government-run agency that would issue credit scores right now instead of the main three entities that are doing it as of this moment. That would be Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Instead, they want to use the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to create a government-run entity that would actually issue your credit scores. Now, this could have a dramatic impact on all of us from a financial perspective. So what I want to do in this video is break down in detail the specifics of this plan, the likelihood of it becoming law, and then the steps you and I can take right now to make sure that we have a higher credit score moving forward so we can actually achieve our financial goals. If you end up liking this video, do everything you can to subscribe, tap the like button, comment, and the notification bell. And until then, let's take our time, dive into details, and jump into it right now. I would like to start by giving you a bit of context. The Biden administration picked up a proposal that was actually put forward by a think tank called Demos back in 2019, where they wrote a proposition that basically said that we need to have a government-run entity creating credit scores for individuals that would be more transparent and hopefully actually more consumer-friendly. They also referenced racial disparity and inequality as the rationale for wanting to do this. So the Biden administration picked this up actually in early 2020, even before Biden became president, and now they're actually wanting to push this forward and actually have become law. And the essence behind it is basically we have three primary private companies that are providing credit scores for us, whether that's Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion. So if you're able to get a credit score and check it, you're usually getting it from one of those three agencies. What they're saying now, the Biden administration, is they'd like to have a government-run entity do this instead. Now, there are many benefits that could potentially come with this because hopefully a government-run entity isn't focused solely on profits. They might be more consumer-driven, but on the flip side, you might be running into some issues with bureaucratic slowness. You might have a lack of ability for people to actually be as sophisticated with technology when you're in the government as opposed to private sector, and then you have no competition. So actually, there are some downsides potentially with this as well. But what I care about most of all is how it's going to impact you directly, because you might have worked really hard to have a great credit score right now that could actually potentially deteriorate if we don't have a financial system that rewards that. Or on the flip side, you might have a really bad credit score right now or a poor credit score because of various components that were outside of your control or potentially in your control, and you're trying to find a way to move forward. So this would impact all individuals irrespective of what your score is right now, but I believe it's important for us to understand the reasoning behind this and how it could actually become law, because the Biden administration is proposing it at this moment. As previously mentioned, the think tank Demos created this proposal back in 2019, and for context, they are much more of a left-leaning liberal group, so this is something that's coming from a different area of the Democratic Party, where Biden generally leans a little more in the centrist lane. So it's something for you to be aware of, more in the deeper end of politics, but when you think about it this way, what they are referencing is racial inequality, and some of the systemic problems in our society might have led to individuals being in a poor situation where they're not able to have a good credit score, which limits their ability to access wealth and not have as high of an interest rate associated with any debt they take on. So that's their reference. I'm not agreeing with that or disagreeing with that. That is just what they put forward in the paper. Furthermore, what they are saying is that there are various inaccuracies on credit reports that affect individuals' ability to borrow in the future. Now, you could probably understand how this goes because there was a recent study conducted by the Federal Trade Commission which found that 1 in 4 Americans actually have a credit inaccuracy on their credit report. So this is something that happens frequently where there's an issue that needs to be resolved, and it can impact your ability to borrow or to be able to qualify for a certain type of a loan. So in that sense, I understand where they're coming from there, but it does impact us whether or not we're going to see any of a change if you switch over to a government-run entity. As someone who works in both the public and the private sector before, I understand that there are some differences in methodology and how things actually work there. In the private sector, you do have a bit more competition, you're usually working more towards the bottom line, and therefore being a consumer-driven entity is both not just a noble component, but it's something that's financially necessary to do to stay in business. In government, generally it's a little bit different because you're responsive to the taxpayers and to the elected representatives who put them in power to be able to actually make wise financial decisions on behalf of them. So it becomes a bit more challenging for those entities necessarily to do something that could benefit you as a taxpayer or as a person who's trying to get a credit report fixed. So in that sense, I would say there are some practical limitations on this, and the Demos paper does not go into great detail about how having a government-run entity would actually change this at all. The Biden proposal doesn't go into great detail about how they would fix inaccuracies or do anything different than what is currently happening with the private entities that are running these programs as we speak. And specifically, when we're looking at fixing inaccuracies, I just want to reference something that I believe is important to be aware of. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau only has 1,500 employees, where the three other companies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, have 20,000 employees. So when you just think about the sheer volume of issues that need to be resolved on a case-by-case basis, having more employees, you're probably more likely to have more things fixed, whereas if you have fewer employees, it's going to be more difficult. So I'm not saying it's necessarily an inherently bad thing that the government would be doing this, but I just think there would be some financial limitations, also some personnel limitations, because oftentimes a lot of these federal government agencies tend to not be run as efficiently because they cut staff and don't necessarily pay as high as certain industries in the private sector. So there could be some negatives associated with that for the consumer or for the taxpayer at the end of the day. You might be asking yourself, will this change impact my credit score right now? And the answer is no. Fortunately, you're not going to be directly impacted yet based on this proposal. If your credit score is good, it's going to stay good as long as you don't do anything bad. If it's a bad credit score, it's going to stay bad unless you do something better to address that. But you're going to find that until this becomes a law or actually comes into administrative action by the Biden administration, we're not going to see any direct changes on our credit scores. Now, you also might be asking yourself, will this eliminate credit scores altogether? And the answer is we don't really know. I would say at this moment that is not likely because lenders are still the gatekeepers for people to be able to borrow money. So irrespective of whether a credit score is coming from a government-run agency or a private agency, the issue is the people who are going to be lending the money at the end of the day need to be able to do a risk tolerance assessment and determine if they're willing to actually lend money to someone in hopes that they're going to pay back that loan, also with the interest associated with that. So in that sense, I do not believe credit scores are going to go away at this moment, but you do see a different trend going in this direction where we might see the government influencing the ways in which credit scores are not only determined, but also what the ratings could determine if someone's willing to lend money to you. On that note, let's say if you have a 600 credit score, whether you're getting that credit score from a government-run agency or from a private agency, it's still a 600. And someone who's going to loan you money, which is most likely a private entity or a bank or something to that extent, is going to look at that number to determine whether or not they want to loan you money. So in that sense, it is important for you to be aware of that you want to really work on getting a higher credit score by making your personal decisions and making that a personal responsibility of yourself to be able to actually gain access to the liquidity and the credit that you're looking to be able to achieve your long-term goals, whether that's purchasing a home or getting a new car or do something like that. And on that note, you want to mix it up a little bit. You want to have different elements associated with your credit score. So if you only have credit card history right now, you might also want to consider having some other form of a loan that you're paid back, and that helps your credit report as well. Now, don't go out and take out a new loan or open up a new credit card or anything to that extent. Just saying that these are things that are factored in to your overall credit score. Another thing you want to do as you're moving forward on this is you want to keep your credit cards open. So you only want to do this because you don't necessarily want to use your credit cards more, but once you have, say, you close out a balance, you don't want to actually continue to make any payments on anything, just keep the credit card, don't close it, because that would impact your credit score substantially. So you really want to take that into consideration and be wise about doing so, because basically your credit score kind of ages like a fine wine. So when you have more accounts that are open, that's beneficial for you. An essential step that you can take to hopefully raise your credit score is to borrow the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Now, I'm just kidding, that will not do anything for your credit score, but it doesn't cost your credit score anything either. So if you wouldn't mind, please tap the like button. That would actually help the channel out quite a bit. Now, on a more serious note, another step that you can take is to make sure you do everything you can to dispute any discrepancies on your credit report. As previously mentioned, 1 out of 4 Americans have some sort of an inaccuracy on their credit report. So if you can identify what that is and contact your creditor to have it fixed, that should help your credit score significantly. Now, I know we talked a lot about being able to borrow more money or take out more credit on this video, and generally speaking, I'm not someone who purports having more debt or even utilizing credit that much. So I just want you to know that my objective here is to provide you with useful information that's relevant to your life in this present moment. And this proposal could dramatically affect your ability to borrow money in the future. And if you've borrowed money in the past and you're still dealing with that, I hope you can address that and hopefully move forward and achieve your long-term goals. But one thing, if you're sinking in a lot of debt right now and you're looking for a way out of it, my specific recommendation would actually be utilizing Dave Ramsey's method, which is called the debt snowball method. And basically what you're doing is you go after your lowest balance of debt first, and you do everything you can to pay that off completely. Then you go to your next highest balance and use all the money that you're using to pay off the first balance, attribute it to the next balance, and do that until it's paid off completely. And basically you repeat that process up until you get to your highest balance possible, which maybe is like a student loan, a mortgage, a car loan, or something like that. So as long as you have a method and a strategy associated with what you're trying to to do, hopefully that'll do everything not only to help you have a higher credit score, but it will alleviate you a little bit from the stress associated with having debt in your life. So from that standpoint, that is my encouragement and recommendation to you. In addition, you could use something like NerdWallet and go on there to assess your credit score and actually see what steps you need to take specifically to be able to help that moving forward. I'll put a link in the description for you to check that out if you want to as well. One of the benefits of becoming debt-free is then being able to invest your money and save your money. And that's one of the things I like to encourage people to do, because that is how you can secure your financial future and actually bring more peace of mind in the present. And if you actually want to get 2 free stocks, feel free to click the link in the descriptions down below. I actually have free stocks available from Robinhood and WeBull. The WeBull stocks are worth up to $1,400. So feel free to grab those stocks and let me know in the comment section what stocks you get. Furthermore, if you want to have more of an index fund approach where you don't get specific stocks but a broader portfolio, I also put a link in the description for Wealthfront, and you can actually sign up there, get your first $500 managed free, and that's what I personally use when I actually do my long-term investing. You can open up a Roth IRA through there and do other things, and I like the simplicity and the intuitive nature of it as well. So one of the things I want to focus on when you're trying to move forward and get a higher credit score, that is just one piece of the puzzle. You really want to have another piece of building wealth and generating it long-term. With all that being said, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. If you wouldn't mind, please like the video. That would really help the channel out for the YouTube algorithm, help push this video to people who might need to hear it. Furthermore, if you have any questions, please comment down below. I'd love to interact with you, get to know you, do any research on your behalf, and help you move forward long term so you can make wise decisions in the present. Furthermore, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to myself personally, as I do everything I can to create content that makes a positive impact in your life by encouraging you and myself to lead lives of meaning and purpose, all while maintaining balance and moderation. And if you do subscribe to the channel, please tap the notification bell. That will notify you every time I post a video, which I do on a weekly basis. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. I hope you have a wonderful remainder of your day. Talk to you next time.